Hi, I'm Marty Nemko. First, I think I need to apologize. Probably my skin looks a little white. I've tried this new sunscreen with zinc oxide, so it doesn't have chemicals, but it makes you look pale. But since this is we're talking about gardening, I figure I might as well mention sunscreen. I'm probably not going to use this stuff again. I'll probably go back to the normal chemical stuff. Anyway, gardening. Why is it number one hobby in America? Variety of things: exercise, productivity, maybe growing vegetables, things you can eat. It can be local, sustainable, all the rest of it. Um, like little boys like me, still like digging in the dirt. When I mix soil, I actually do it by hand, mix different amendments and soil together. I find it fun. I find digging fun. I remember when I was a little boy, digging and thinking I was going to dig to China and meet a Chinese boy halfway. Fun fantasy. Another early memory I had, by the way, of gardening wasn't of gardening. It was just of plants. It was at this place called the Bungalow Colony where people went to escape the New York City heat to put low income. It was these little shacks an hour and a half away in a place called South Fallsburg, New York. And these little shacks, and then there was behind it was just unspoiled land. And I would wander back there. I was probably just 5 or 6, but those days people didn't worry about anything. I guess in rural environments you still don't worry about security. So, some people are attracted to wildlife or birds or whatever. I was amazed at the flowers, the plants. I can still picture black-eyed Susan, these dark black center, these daisy-like things with bright yellow with a black center. And then I'd walk a little further away, and there'd be this thing later learned called Queen Anne's lace. It looked like a beautiful, beautiful round lace handkerchief in a perfect circle. And then I got near a pond, and there were these cattails, looked like hot dogs sticking out. So I always was attracted. I've always been kind of a solo operator. I like to do things by myself, and more comfortable with plants than with people socially. Animals, my doggie. So I just ended up loving the beauty of nature, and it was dormant while I was growing up. But I did, as a kid, when they used to give us a little form where we could sign up to buy seeds. And I was always excited to buy the zinnia seeds and the marigold seeds and the 4 o'clocks and the sweet peas. Funny the things you remember. And most of them didn't grow. I don't think many of them grew at all. But anyway, I kind of was intrigued by that for some reason. I think as an adult, the first plant experience I had that was good was with coleus. I bought this little, I liked the cool multicolored green of a certain coleus. I think it was called electric lime. I bought in a little 4-inch pot. It was to be grown indoors. And I was amazed at how quickly the beautiful serrated leaves grew into this lush plant. And I liked that. I was living in an apartment in married student housing at Berkeley, and I was I'm from New York originally, and I was entranced by the fact that in New York, I never even noticed roses, but I guess I knew at least that they just bloomed a couple months out of the year, and occasionally they were no big deal. But in California, in Berkeley, California, it's perfect weather for roses, and so they bloomed 8-9 months out of the year. And the form of a classic rose flower is picture the roses you get when you get a bouquet as a gift or that rose form is maybe the most beautiful form of all flowers in the world. And here they grow on these bushes 3 feet tall, 4 feet tall, and I later learned that for 20 years they will keep producing these flowers, a romantic flower factory. I was living in an apartment, second floor as it would be, but I wanted to try growing roses. How the hell am I going to grow roses there? So I went in the back of a Chinese restaurant where they had a bunch of 5-gallon soy sauce containers, and I took a couple, and I bought got lucky, I think. I bought a rose that I still remember called Sunsprite. Still one of the great roses, beautiful yellow, magnificently fragrant, perfect spiral form. And I grew it out of a 5-gallon soy sauce container out my window, a sunny window. And it would keep blooming and blooming off and on for most of the year. And again, fast forward 30, 40 years, I was aware that then at that point that most roses needed spraying to avoid it having the powdery mildew, that white powder that gets on them, black spot. And I decided I'd had enough school. I had a PhD already, just about, in a different field, evaluation of innovation and educational psychology. I didn't want to do more school, so I decided to learn on my own how to hybridize roses. I went to the Stribing Arboretum. It's the big arboretum in San Francisco, and they have a big library, and I looked up rose hybridizing stuff, and then I found that there was a Rose Hybridizers Association. They had a little booklet called Rose Hybridizing for Beginners, and I learned. I was very focused. I said, I'm going to learn how to focus. I'm going to develop compact roses, don't like those big gawky things, that are resistant to disease. So I call them no-spray roses. And long story short, I've now made thousands of crosses. By the way, this is not genetic engineering. It's the old-fashioned way. You're not changing the germline of any roses, the genetic makeup, interior. You're not editing out or editing in any genes. You're just making hybrid crosses the way it almost occurs in nature, except you do it deliberately. So you would cross different varieties. I've done it thousands of times, and I have a couple on the market and a few now that I love much better, that really don't need to be sprayed, at least here in the San Francisco Bay Area. I don't know what I'm having them tested all over the country at companies. Anyway, that was my love of roses. I still love them. I have a few plants that I love particularly the most. I would commend to you the rose Black Magic, Sexy Rexy. But roses really aren't the easiest to grow if you want to do gardening. If you're in a warm climate like mine, for my favorite single plant would be an orange tree, because it's 4 seasons of attractiveness. You've got oranges for 3-4 months. You've got a month of amazingly beautifully fragrant blossoms in the spring. They're evergreen, so it's always covered with beautiful, glossy, dark green foliage. Lovely. I also love Bougainvillea. Again, I'm aware that most people aren't living in the Bay Area. I'll get to plants that are nationwide, but I love Bougainvillea. It's this amazingly tropical, absolute huge cloud of purples and hot pinks, or whatever, some bicolor pink and white, on a very tall, arching 10 to 20 foot shrub that circles the entrance to my house. And this is wonderful plant, and this grows nationwide. In the winter, where nothing blooms, a viola will grow often into quite cold weather, and then again in the early spring. They're like miniature pansies. I like them. Geraniums, standard geraniums of the orange type, have given way to some really beautiful, true, rich red or purples. That's my benchmark, actually, for developing roses, because geraniums require almost no care. Just cut off the dead blooms and you're good. They don't get any disease particularly, and they're constantly covered with bloom. And that's always my objective when I'm trying to breed roses. It's, can I get that beautiful rose form on a plant that's as easy care as geranium? A couple of others that are available nationwide. Japanese maple grow in much of the country, I think. I don't know about it for sure, but I have one Japanese maple. It's mini. It grows only 3 feet, 4 feet tall, maybe 5 feet wide at full length, and it grows slowly. And it's a 300 or 400 year old variety called Tomukayama. It's got very fine red-leafed leaves and a beautiful canopy. You can Google it, Tomukayama Japanese maple. Inside, I love what's called Spathiphyllums, the fancy name, but peace lily, glossy foliage, kind of surreal white inflorescence, big kind of a hood-shaped flower quite a bit of the time. I love inside the Phalaenopsis orchid. That's what they call the Moth Orchid. Beautiful semicircles of flowers of beautiful blush pinks and whites. Outside, one more. I love this, the zinnia. Zinnias used to never be in real red, but there's this amazing long-blooming zinnia called Preciosa Red. This is the wrong time of year. This is the fall, but for next spring, order yourself Preciosa Red zinnia. Unfortunately, it's only available by seeds. But zinnia seeds grow easily, so you should just get yourself a pack of those for $5, and they'll be fun. They'll bloom from early summer all the way into frost. And then, by the way, really one of the best buys in plants are 6-packs. Nurseries don't like to sell 6-packs, so there isn't as much profit. They'd rather sell you a 4-inch or 1/4 or 1 gallon or 2 gallon or 3 gallon. But with the 6-packs, you get 6 little plants for under $5. You can get them lots of things like those violas or marigolds. I really like those. And now I think the last thing I used to love tomatoes, but I find that they're hit and miss. There's some amazing varieties of tomatoes that taste infinitely better than what you're going to get in most stores. My favorite is something called Orange Peruche, Orange Paruche. It's believe it or not, it's from Japan, but it's it wins all kinds of taste test awards. It's a cherry tomato, orange in color, which probably turns off some people because it's not red, but it's amazing. But some years most years all my tomato plants do well, and other years none of them do, and even though I keep rotating the soil and putting fresh soil in and amendments. Anyway, the last thing I want to do is, we're now entering fall, and the last couple of videos I've ended up playing the piano to kind of end the video, and I'm going to do that for you now. I'm going to play Autumn Leaves, a lovely lyric I love. I miss you most of all, my darling, when autumn leaves start to fall. What a nice, beautiful lament of a love in the past. Anyway, I'm going to turn this here, and I'll play one chorus of... let me see if I can get it there. That's good. That's good enough. What is that bright? Oh, that red light is disgusting. That's distracting. Let me see if I can do it. Not that it really matters much. Probably not worth the effort. I'm not going to bother. Too hard. It's going to make you wait too long. And I had it better before. Alright, that'll do. Alright. Anyway, that's Autumn Leaves. I wish you an autumn where there's still time to do a little bit of gardening and then a restful winter. I just thought I felt like sharing that with you. In any event, as usual, I welcome your thumbs up and accept your thumbs down. I always look forward to your comments, and especially like it if you hit the share button below. Share on your social media so that my efforts can have broader impact. And I am flattered if you choose to subscribe to my channel. And in any event, I do thank you for watching. I am Marty Nemko.